I'm astrologer and life coach Penny Dix. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome back if you're one of my regular visitors. And if this is your first visit here, a very big welcome to you. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. So today I'm bringing you an in-depth look at the forthcoming coronation of King Charles III of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. And this takes place on the 6th of May, 2023. Now, there has been a lot of hype around why this date has been chosen, partly because there's a full moon lunar eclipse the day before on the 5th, and secondly, because the astrology of the day of the actual coronation is a little bit kind of like, not the day you choose perhaps to do something particularly significantly important. Now, I have no idea whether they would ever dream or consider consulting astrologers. And I think if I had been consulted on the date, I would have been more worried about the fact that on the 6th of May, the moon is void. Now, the moon is actually void. The moon on the 6th is in Scorpio. It's trining, which is helpful, Neptune, but that kind of makes it rather, we don't really know what's going on. It's a bit unclear. It's a bit, is it happening? Is it not happening? Is something going to sort of get in the way? Is it going to be a bit of a stop-start affair? And then at, let me have a look, 1437, the moon goes void. And it stays void when the moon is finally in Sagittarius in the evening at 20:04, when it ends its void of course. Now, when the moon is void, what it means is it's not making any particular aspect to any of the cosmic bodies. So what this means astrologically or symbolically is that it's not a great time to do anything of any particular significance or importance. Well, maybe that's what King Charles wants, a kind of a not particularly significant day. Maybe because of the hype of the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio the day before, he's thinking he can dilute the energies a bit with this void of course moon, which is an interesting kind of thought. But I thought, yes, that's the other thing. I've just glanced down at my notes. Mercury is retrograde. I mean, it's almost like, is he going to have to go back and do this again? Is it actually going to actually happen? Is it going to unfold in the way it's meant to unfold? Will something be missing? Will somebody important not turn up? Will there be doubts and confusion, Neptune, as to what's going on? There's certainly the energy, the energy, is not clear. So first of all, I'm going to look at the chart comparison between Charles and the full moon lunar eclipse. So first of all, we have the node in Taurus is conjunct his natal node. So he's having a nodal return, and it's a north node. So this full moon is very much about his destiny. This is something about fulfilling the destiny of something significant. It's in the 10th house, which is the house of career, of what you're passionate about. Well, I think, actually, to be fair to him, I think he's very passionate about his role as king. I think it's something he's been trained to do for so long. I think he just can't wait to actually embrace it formally and move on with it. Now, transiting Jupiter is still in Aries, but it's conjunct his moon that is at the 0 degree of Taurus. And that 0 degree of Taurus is conjunct his north node, which means it's also conjunct the transiting North Node. So Jupiter is about greatness. Jupiter is about, so one could say, yes, he is destined for great things, because we have this kind of fated kind of energy around. And also that new moon total solar eclipse that we had on the 20th of April was conjunct his moon in Taurus. So there's no doubt that all the events and anything that unfolds for him around this time and the next few months will have been triggered by this energy that we have with, first of all, that new moon solar eclipse, and now with this full moon lunar eclipse. So this is definitely a very fated time for him personally and publicly. So what else have we got going on in this chart? Because the moon, the full moon itself in Scorpio, is widely conjunct, but nevertheless I would take it as a conjunction, his natal sun. The full moon is at 14 degrees and 58 minutes, so it's nearly at 15 degrees, and the sun is at 22 degrees, his sun in Scorpio. It's in the fourth house. This is about significant changes within the family and within the home. Well, that kind of makes sense. His mother has passed. There's been all the problems he's been having with Prince Harry, and maybe this will bring an end to the problems, because full moons can be about endings. So let's err on the side of the positive, as Prince Harry is actually coming to the coronation. So that is a good step forward. And I personally feel he's probably made a very balanced and wise decision to actually make this journey. And so, you know, I think that, yes, this full moon is incredibly significant for him. There is no doubt his life is going to change dramatically. Now, I've heard some astrology reports talk about that he won't be king for very long because of this energy. Do I see that? Personally, I don't look for something that talks about someone not being around. It's not screaming at me personally. It's not screaming out at me from this chart, but we'll have a look at the coronation chart in a minute. And for me, what this is more about is that it is just a huge, significant life change. And with Uranus, of course, transiting Uranus, my big outer boy Uranus, the planet of shocks and surprises and freedom, in opposition to the full moon in Scorpio and in opposition to the natal sun of King Charles, then there is no doubt there are going to be some unexpected twists and turns. And I just feel that it feels a little bit as if one says, as if something happens around this time and we go, whoa, didn't see that coming. I think I also said that in the full moon lunar eclipse report, but there's something about that with this Uranus energy, that something surprising happens around this energy. So yes, the full moon is significant. The transiting Mercury, of course, is also conjunct his moon, and it's retrograde. So last minute talks with the feminine, last minute talks with the Queen Consort perhaps, last minute changes, decisions, who sits where, who sits on whose lap. You know, we don't want to upset so-and-so, so we better sit them here. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a sort of, a little bit chaotic around the actual day of the event. Now, I'm going to bring in now the actual event, the coronation, because obviously the energy is very similar because it's just moved on a few degrees from what it was for the full moon. So the moon has moved on to 24 degrees of Scorpio and is actually conjunct the natal Chiron of King Charles. That's quite interesting because this is about a healing of wounds. And interestingly, it's in the 5th house of this chart. This is in the 5th house of the chart of King Charles. And I just wonder whether some kind of healing in the relationship for him, between him and Prince Harry, is allowed to begin, or we see tentative steps of a healing process in that relationship. So that could be some of that energy. The moon, of course, is still conjunct his sun. And so there may be that in private, behind closed doors, there is a kind of, I can imagine there being a kind of a few very quiet moments kind of in reflection about Harry's mother, about Princess Diana, and, you know, just perhaps wishing things could have been different, whatever that means. But I think there's some reflection that goes on with this particular coronation event. But we mustn't forget that that moon is void. So it probably won't be void when he is actually anointed king. At that point, it is probably that the moon in Scorpio is making this trine to Neptune. Now, Neptune in Pisces is in the part of the chart that is to do with higher education. It's actually quite a spiritual part of the chart. So this kind of links in with him being anointed the defender of faiths, in regard to he becomes the head of the church and the head of the faiths within the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. So that energy, I think, is around and is good. The Mercury retrograde, I think, is the problem. It's almost like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. What it's making me feel like is there's some element here of fairy stories or even Shakespeare plays where you get Banquo's ghost turns up at the banquet. And Banquo was in the famous play that we don't mention by William Shakespeare. You can Google it. I'm not going to mention it. I don't want to go back and do this video all over again. I am at heart an actress. But I guess in a sense, there will be a ghost throughout the presence of this event. Not just the ghost, I'm thinking of Princess Diana, the boy's mother, and Charles's first wife. But I think the presence, the kind of spiritual presence of Her Majesty the late Queen, and also the Duke of Edinburgh. I think there'll be a coming together for the family on this day, which is very much needed. And I'm encouraged by that moon conjunct Chiron, his Chiron, in that I think he will be making big steps to heal wounds. He may not get very far on this particular day because of that void moon. But you know what? Every little step in the right direction is a good step and a positive step. There's no doubt that this chart shows us this is his destiny. And how long will he reign? Like people have said, oh, he won't be in power very long. In power, he's not in power. He's just going to be a figurehead, king of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. But let's face it, King Charles was born in 1948. So he's not a young man. And none of us ever know how long we have on this planet. None of us. And we never know what is going to happen. All I can say is that we will just have to wait and see in that sense. I think the fact that Uranus is present in this kind of configuration for the coronation in its opposition to his sun indicates the shocks and surprises and twists and turns that could come out of this particular reign. His predecessor, namesake King Charles II, certainly had a very colourful kind of reign, and his return to the throne after being in exile for so long was a big thing. And we've got that kind of repetitive pattern with, it's almost like Prince Harry has been in exile and is coming home to perhaps claim his birthhood, his kind of rights. We will have to wait and see. But I thought it would be interesting to just do a little kind of look into all of this. I think there's going to be just some interesting events that come around from it. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming to watch this look at the coronation for the king and the astrology of such. And please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And please remember to subscribe to my website for forthcoming courses that are going to be available. And I'd like to wish the new king, Charles III, every success. So how should we finish this but by saying, long live the king?